began working as a janitor at Frito-Lay. One day, a machine in the plant malfunctioned and stopped adding cheese dust to the Cheetos. Fun fact, by the way, the company's official term for Cheetos dust is Cheetle, but I digress. Since the Cheetle-less batch of corn puffs couldn't be sold to consumers, Montañez took some of the unseasoned Cheetos home with him and flavored them with spices reminiscent of Mexican street corn. His spicy, hot Cheetos were a hit with family and friends, and so Montañez pitched the idea to the CEO of Frito-Lay's parent company, PepsiCo. Today, you probably know Montañez's creation as Flamin' Hot Cheetos, a product that has generated over $1 billion in revenue for the company since hitting shelves in the early 90s. And as for Montañez, a janitor who is a 4th grade dropout, he's now a vice president at PepsiCo. Cheese, plus electroencephalogram results show that foods. If I eat one, there is no way that I'm stopped until I reach the bottom of the bag. I mean, cheese puffs are basically everything I love rolled into one lumpy, lightweight snack. They're fried, they have salt, they have cheese, plus electroencephalogram results show that getting Cheetle on your fingers provides, quote, a sense of giddy subversion that consumers enjoy over the messiness of the product. So really, how am I not supposed to be addicted to these things? The folks over at Frito-Lay have clearly done their research. The Cheeto is a perfect, meticulously engineered snack food, or so it would seem, until you find out that they were a complete accident. You see, theorists, I recently went down a bit of a Cheetos rabbit hole when I started researching the origin story of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Apparently, a biopic on Richard Montañez's life is in the works with Fox Searchlight, so initially I thought it might be a good topic for the Film Theory channel, but as I dug deeper into the history of Cheetos, I came to realize that the story of a janitor inventing Flamin' Hot Cheetos, as fascinating as it might be, was actually the second most intriguing story about the history of Cheetos. Because what really blew my mind was the story of how corn puffs themselves were invented, or should I say, rebranded. Folks, we were never meant to eat cheese puffs. No human was. Hats off to you, Cheetos. Game recognized game. You almost distracted me with your PR-friendly feel-good story about the janitor, but I'm past all that now. My eyes are open. Here's the real story here, theorists. The one that big snack food doesn't want you to know about. Cheese puffs are repurposed cow food. No clickbait here, friends. Cheese puffs are a straight-up byproduct of livestock feed manufacturing. And lest you think that leveling up from livestock feed to human food would be enough for the audacious cheese puff think again. At this very moment, even as we speak, your favorite crunchy cheese snack is quietly rebranding itself yet again. And this time, it's not aiming for the moon, it's aiming for the dang stars. Let's jump right in, friends, because today's food theory is utterly outrageous. The cheese puff's origin story begins in the early 1930s in Beloit, Wisconsin, where a man by the name of Claire Matthews came up with an idea for a feed grinder. This machine was capable of breaking corn and other popular livestock feeds into smaller flakes, which was handy because the smaller sized flakes were easier for animals to ingest. Matthews got a handful of business partners together, and in 1933 they founded the Flakall Corporation, a Beloit-based company dedicated to producing flaked livestock feed with its patented feed grinder. But what they didn't yet realize is that they had also invented the world's first corn puff snack extruder. See, two things would happen whenever their feed grinder was run for an extended period of time. One, the machine would get hot. Two, it would clog. In order to prevent clogging, every so often the machine operators would pour moistened corn kernels through the feed grinder in order to flush it out a bit. Now, if the moistened corn happened to get fed through when the machine was really hot, the corn would come out on the other end in long, puffy ribbons, almost like lumpy, bumpy strings of popcorn. This clip from the BBC actually does a great job of succinctly explaining how a corn puff snack extruder actually works.
The raw maize goes inside, and a tightly fitting spiral compacts it.
As the spiral turns, it forces the maize down towards the end. And the force gets harder and harder and creates heat, and so much heat that when the maize finally gets squeezed out of this tiny little hole here, it's so hot that it cooks it, and you get corn puffs.
Now, the Flakall Corporation didn't give much thought to these puffy ribbons at first. After all, they were just a byproduct of the cleaning process. But if history has taught us anything, it's that anytime something new comes along, someone's gonna put it in their mouth. In this case, that somebody was Edward Wilson, a machine operator with the Flakall Corporation. The puffy corn ribbons piqued his curiosity, so he took them home after work one day, deep fried them, then seasoned them with some good old Wisconsin cheddar cheese and salt. Wilson's so-called corn curls were such a hit that the Flakall Corporation made some tweaks to their feed grinder design and patented a brand new machine to pump out corn kernels for human consumption. Flacol changed its name to the Adams Corporation in order to fully separate itself from the livestock feed origins, and the Adams Corporation went full on into the corn kernels business, which I gotta say is just absolutely crazy when you think about it. Here's a handful of guys from Beloit, Wisconsin set out with a dream to make it in the glamorous world of livestock feed, only to accidentally wind up creating pretty much the most addictingly delicious human feed of all time. Talk about a glow up, huh? So despite its humble agricultural origins, the cheese puff has found its true purpose as a snack food. Or has it? That's right, theorists, I'm here to tell you that the cheese puff may not have achieved its final form yet. In the 1930s, it rose above its station as industrial waste and managed to climb the culinary social ladder to the level of snack food. Not too shabby. But you see, the cheese puff and Richard Montañez have more in common than you might think. Montañez did not settle for middle management. He kept climbing until he was in the executive suite. And Cheetos refused to stop climbing too. Theorists, if you haven't noticed already, the Cheeto is inventing itself yet again. And this time, it's shooting for acceptance as a legitimate culinary ingredient. You heard that right. Yesterday's cow food wants to be tomorrow's fine dining. And if you think that sounds ridiculous, consider just how far the Cheeto has already come. For decades, people have been working Cheetos into their home recipes, Flamin' Hot Cheetos in particular. I mean, hundreds of Cheetos-infused recipes online for dishes of all types. Hot wings and Jell-O shots that incorporate Flamin' Hot Cheetos, burgers and sandwiches that use Cheetos for a fun, cheesy texture change-up. If you can dream it, someone out there has probably tried it. We're talking Cheetos tacos, Cheetos pizza,